All right, what's up, everybody? So I just wanted to make a quick overview. A few people have been asking me in my Discord and elsewhere about my mic settings on the last Silent Hill video. I use these same settings when I live stream, so I figured why not, break open the software, bust it open, and show everybody what I'm using. First of all, the setup is an SM7B connected to not a cloud lifter. My cloud lifter is right here, not being used, and I'll get into that in a second. But long story short, I get some very annoying signal noise with this, and I've tried everything to fix it. This is the problem. So I'm connected to a device called the Cathedral Pipes Durham Mark II, which is a cheaper but better inline preamp because it actually eliminates noise instead of introducing it. But in terms of my settings here, let's go ahead and get into the software. So the GoXLR is an interesting device because a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll jump into this mic setup tab and immediately set the gain up to where you're at a full 60 decibels of gain. I don't think that's the best way to do it. And in fact, I think that sounds pretty bad. A lot of times you'll end up getting a lot of room noise when you do that. For the GoXLR, the optimal gain for the SM7B is actually somewhere in the neighborhood of 48 decibels, 48 to 52, I would say, at the absolute high end. So, of course, you're going to hear my breath because the noise gate is shut off when we're in this tab. But basically, I've got it plugged into the Cathedral Pipes. The Cathedral Pipes Durham is giving me 25 decibels of gain with phantom power, and I'm getting another 23 from the device, so that'll put me at 48. So in terms of the noise gate, I've got mine set fairly low. I'm using negative 48 decibels on the threshold. Basically, that's baseline. As soon as I start speaking, I'm going to be above that. So whatever I say will be caught unless I'm just barely whispering, and at that point, nobody would be able to hear me anyway, so what's the point? Next is the attenuation. So this is basically how quick the gate opens, and I've got mine set pretty high, so I want it to open quickly. I've got the fastest possible attack time, and not quite the fastest possible release, because if you do use the fastest possible release, you're going to get something called gate chatter. And what gate chatter is, in a nutshell, is it's basically the sound of the noise gate opening and closing. And sometimes as soon as you finish speaking, it'll try to release so quick that it'll actually cut off your words at the very end. And that can be pretty annoying. So you want to give just enough space here to where that is not really audible. And you can hear when I stop speaking that it's not really audible. So this is what I feel like are the optimal gate settings on here. Equalization. I do expand it out to the full 10-band EQ. I recommend you do it as well. Of course, you can leave it as the simplified bass, mids, and treble, but if you expand it out to the 10-band, it really lets you fine-tune the sound, and it really lets you take full advantage of the processing that it offers. So I feel like, expand it out and play around with all these frequencies, but what I've got is a small 2 decibel 30 hertz cut. So 30 hertz, the human voice does not go this low. So nothing that you're saying is going to reach 30 hertz. What this cut is here for is to remove things like AC noise. If you've got a loud AC unit in your apartment or your house or your close by event, for an example, that'll help cut out some of that noise. PC fans, any of that sort of low rumble noise that you might be experiencing, this will help to cut that out. Now, in one of my older videos, I was using the DBX286S, which is a purely analog mic processor. And one of my favorite features of the DBX286S is it has this dial on it called low frequency enhance. And when you turn that up, you get this really great bassy fullness in your voice. And I actually opened the manual and I found out that that low frequency enhance is boosting 80 hertz and cutting 250 hertz simultaneously. So that's exactly what I did here, is I basically mirrored that knob being turned up to about a 2. So I've boosted 80 hertz 2 decibels, but I've simultaneously cut 250. And what that does is it gives you more bass energy in your voice while also cutting out some of the mud. And with the mid-range here, these middle 3 frequencies, I've just reduced these all by 1 decibel. And that is that mid-range scoop is there again to just kind of remove some of the mud that you can get on this mic. So in terms of the treble, I have seen other people, boost the shit out of the treble, and they kind of try to make it sound more like a condenser or shotgun microphone. You can do that if you really want to, but my personal feeling on that is if you're EQing the mic so much that it doesn't even sound like the microphone you bought, you probably should just, go in a different direction and buy a different mic. I don't touch the treble because my voice isn't even that bassy anyway, and so I don't want to introduce any fatigue to anybody listening. So I just keep mine flat. I don't boost it. I don't cut it. I leave it exactly how it is out of the box, and I love it that way. Now, the compressor is where you get the rest of your volume. So, we've only got 48 decibels of gain. Shure's own documentation and their manuals recommend 60 for this mic. So how are we going to get there? We're going to get there with the makeup gain. So basically the threshold means this is the volume at which the device is going to start compressing. And just, really quick compressor in a nutshell, all it does is it reduces the volume of your loudest speech and it increases the volume of your quietest speech so that you get a more consistent volume and your listeners don't have to constantly slide their volume up and down and up and down. They get a nice consistent volume across most of the frequency range. So I've got mine at -18. My ratio is 4:1. My attack is very fast at 2 milliseconds. Release is, again, not the fastest because you can get a little bit of sort of digital artifacting if you do that. I've got mine set to 35 ms. And the makeup gain is what's really where kind of the magic is in terms of the GoXLR. A lot of devices have makeup gain, and it introduces a lot of noise and just annoying, factors to the signal. Not in this case. The makeup gain on this device is incredibly clean, as you can hear. It's basically noiseless, up to a certain degree. So I set mine to 12, which puts me at a total, after the makeup gain is applied, that puts me at that roughly 60 decibel threshold. And then the de-esser, of course. Now, the de-esser, I don't recommend using this a lot. You can hear if I'm to completely remove it. I do have a little bit of an annoying S sound in my voice, and I don't want that to be fatiguing to listeners. So I do increase this to about 30 just to eliminate that. I could probably get by with like 25 on the de-esser if I really wanted to. In fact, that sounds good. But, if you really start to push this all the way up, it really just sounds like you have a cold and it introduces a lot of mud to your signal. So I don't recommend doing that. So that's pretty much my overview of the settings. Pretty simple. And I think it's extremely effective and sounds great. Good volume. You don't really have to boost it too much in post, just a couple decibels at the most. And it's a nice, consistent volume for live streaming. That's not going to blow anybody's ears out and they can listen for hours. So the next thing I kind of wanted to talk about was this thing, this cloud lifter. Why am I not using it? Well, long story short is this fucking thing introduces noise into my signal. And you might be wondering, or you might be thinking, you're an idiot. This is a dynamic microphone. There is no self noise. You're right. There is no self noise coming from the mic, but there is some sort of noise coming from the cloud lifter. Because when I use this thing, it doesn't matter how low my gain is. I've tried low gain. I've tried high gain. I've tried everything imaginable. I bought a power conditioner to make sure that it wasn't my outlet. I got some official Mogami Star Quad cables. I bought an EMI reduction filter. I've tried everything and I still get noise on this. The only thing that fixed my noise, oh, by the way, I also got 2 exchange cloud lifters from Sweetwater because I thought mine was defective and it still had the noise. The only thing that fixed the noise for me was switching to the cathedral pipes, just switching to a different inline preamp altogether. So I don't recommend the cloud lifter. If you're going to be using the GoXLR, I don't recommend the cloud lifter because I think that for whatever reason it introduces noise. And I actually have a recorded sample of it. Now this is boosted obviously, but this is what it sounds like when the room is totally, completely dead flat, noiseless. This is what the noise is like in my ears. So yeah, I don't know what causes it, but something internally with this thing causes this noise. Just get the cathedral pipes, guys. Seriously, this thing is a work of art. It is handmade or, hand assembled. Obviously they're not fashioning, all the parts by hand, but it's hand assembled. It's a small business in California. It's only $58 shipped. It basically is the same form factor as a cloud lifter. It just doesn't have the non-slip stuff on the bottom. I just bought some furniture sliders and threw it on the bottom. But it sounds super clean and just great. So yeah, save the $100, spend $58. Again, this is all USD. I'm talking if you're European, there might be differences in shipping cost and all these different things. But if you're in the continental United States, pay $58 and get a Durham Mark II and be much happier. I think it's a much better overall product than the Cloud Lifter. But yeah, comment down below if you have any other questions you'd like me to answer about my audio setup, and anything else you'd like to know about EQ. If you're using a different type of interface, for example, you want to kind of copy some of my settings, just let me know. And yeah, so with that being said, all my socials will be down below in the description. If you guys want to hop in the Discord, you can obviously, that's probably going to be the best place to message me if you have any questions. But outside of that, working on a lot of new videos, some about Silent Hill, but some about some other horror franchises, which I will keep under wraps for now because I'm really excited about those videos. And outside of that, everybody have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next.